Hey guys, so for next couple of videos, what we are gonna see is basic workplace requirements. So the first thing that will come up is package manager, and it will be followed by version control system and webpack and other stuff. So initially, what is npm? Npm stands for Node Package Manager. So in this video, we're gonna see what are the uses of npm, or there are similar package managers like bower or yarn. So how is it good from one another? All these we are going to discuss, and in later videos we might get a chance to look into each one separately, but for now we'll start with npm. Hey guys, so npm is a package manager. We came across that, but in order to know where it is used, we'll just see a live demo. For that, what I'll need you to do is just search for something called node, and download the node for your system. Make sure it is LTS version, so that actually LTS stands for long term support, so it is going to be a stable version. The installation procedure is just going to be the same. Once you're done with the installation, you should be seeing the commands work in your git bash. So in order to open the terminal in VS Code, all you have to do is control backticks, or else even you could use the terminal from outside as well. So what I'll do now is, in order to know whether it is installed in your system properly, just check it out using npm dash dash version. So it should give you the current version of npm. Also, you could try a shorthand syntax like npm dash v. So same thing should happen. Okay, so this is the longhand syntax and this is the short one. Usually all the commands in npm has both versions, so it's completely up to you to use whichever is convenient for you. In order to create or initiate a project, what you're supposed to do is npm init. So you initialize a project, so it goes through a couple of questions, and whichever is encapsulated in between the brackets, it is going to be the default value. So if you leave it blank and press enter, the default value is going to be selected. We'll just go through all these things, just basic stuff. Description, you can give whatever you like. So what does entry point mean? Entry point means that it is going to be the initial file that is going to load. So usually people will opt for index.js, server.js, or app.js. It's completely up to you guys. We'll stick to index.js. Test command is something like there are test frameworks like Mocha Chai. So for those frameworks, you could create some test commands to test your application. So those things come under here. We'll leave it blank for now. Git repository is something related to version control system, which we'll be discussing in the next video. So we'll leave this blank as well. And keywords are something like search engine optimizations. So you can give some relevant terms for your project. I'll give it as tutorial. Author is of course going to be you, and license is like whether it's a copyrighted content, or what are the terms of use. Everything comes under license. Usually the standard license is going to be MIT or ISC. You can look through other license as well. So it is asking for confirmation. We'll just go with yes. So once you do that, you could notice that there is a file created. It is package.json. So if you have come across the last lecture, you would be knowing that JSON is nothing but a JavaScript object notation. So anything between a parenthesis is like key value pair. So the name is the key and workflow is the um, value. So it comes under key value pairs. So if you could watch closely, these are the details that we filled out, and I think it should be pretty simple. So of course the question arises, is this all npm is about? Definitely not. So what does npm do? uh, what we'll do is we'll create the main index.js file. So we'll name it index.js. Say for instance I need to use another package which is pre-coded, so that I don't want to write all the code from scratch. So I'll be using some library called Lodash. So it comes with predefined JavaScript functions. Okay, so Lodash has couple of installation procedures. We could use CDN copies, or we could have another package manager like yarn, or even npm. So we'll go for npm. All you have to do is type in npm install, or the short version is I, and dash dash save, and there is actually a flag. It is called dash g, which stands for global. But since we are not using this globally, I'll just remove it. And the package name lodash, you could write dash dash save even at the last, it doesn't matter. So once you do this, what happens is, mm, three things changed here. Initially you have a node modules folder. The other thing that was created was package log.json, and your package.json file has something different called dependencies. So it has lodash with its version number. So what exactly does all these mean? Say for instance you're working among a team. You don't need to copy this entire lodash and its javascript files and zip it up and send it to him. All you have to do is you just have to use this index file and package.json file, and he could just recreate the same setup using a command called npm install. So no issues with that. So what we'll do is, we'll try to use the library in our index.js file. In order to use node modules, what you have to do is we have to assign it to a variable. Now I'm going to assign lodash to underscore. So that is the common convention. Even you could name it as you wish, like abcd, whatever. And you have to require the lodash module. So once you do this, the underscore stands for lodash. We'll write some simple function like I initiate a array with like few values in it. Okay, so there are multiple functions. Once you click this, you will be seeing all those functions. So now what we'll do is I'll use a simple function called each, and it will take in two parameters, the array itself and the iterator. So we can name it whatever we wish. So it is just asking what do you want to name these things. I'll name it like element. Okay, so usually we can write it in ES6 or ES5 versions. So ES5, you have to write a function like this, and you have to pass in that element, and it comes under these parentheses. So for now I'll just console log the element. Okay, so now we have a simple function. So in order to run this, there is something called node. So of course you might have installed it priorly. Just use node and specify the file name that you need to run. Here it is index.js. Either you could type it entirely, or you can simply use node index. So once you do that, we have our function running properly. Even you could convert this to ES6, no issues. All you have to do is simply do this, and now you have a ES6 code, and it is going to work the same way. Okay, so what does it have to do with npm? So how does npm actually help in dependencies or workflow? So I'll say, like, once you need to transfer this, usually what you do is you push it to GitHub, and you ignore this node modules folder. You create something called .gitignore. So in this, what you do is you include that node modules folder. So once a Git repository or a versioning control system is initiated, um, this node modules folder gets excluded, and only these three files get pushed to the cloud repository. What happens is, if your teammate is going to pull that, all he had to do is type in npm install, and this node modules folder is going to show up in his system. So this is how package manager works. uh, in order to replicate the same thing, what I'll do is I'll create a sample folder. We'll name it like, say for instance, workflow copy. So your friend is having this particular directory, and all he needs to do is just copy these two files, index and package, and he needs to have this here. So we'll open a git bash here. So if he's going to try the same command, node index, of course it is going to throw up some error stating that it didn't find so and so, couldn't find lodash. So what happened was, it is looking for the node modules folder. So what we can do is, we just need to give this command npm install. Once you do that, everything that you had comes here as well, and now when you try node index, it should work good. So this is how package managers work. Now we'll get into some other like npm stuff as well. So you might be seeing this package.json file. What does this versioning mean actually? So it doesn't just keep all those dependencies, it also maintains the version of your dependencies. I'll just show it in a simple slide, I guess. Semantic version npm, yeah. So usually there are three numbers in versions. So the first digit is nothing but major version. So if you look in here, the 4 is major version, and the 17 is a minor version, and 11 is patch update. So usually what happens is, patch updates keep on rolling out, like there'll be minor bug fixes or performance upgrades, something like that. But minor bug fixes and minor changes comes under this versioning. So here there will be backward compatible functions, or even they'll remove some functions that is already existing. They'll do under the hood changes, so it comes under minor changes. But actually what happens in major changes is, they'll change up even the entire application, so that the initial versions might not even work, which actually worked in your project. So this is how versioning is denoted. So if you are going to use this caret symbol, what happens is, um, you could see clearly that using a caret symbol, just these two things get updated. Major changes does not get updated, and instead of using a caret symbol, if you are going to use tilde symbol, what happens is if there is an update in patch version, only that thing gets updated. Even the minor changes does not update. So we'll just see it live. Say for instance I need something like version 10 maybe. Yeah, I'll just get rid of this node modules folder. So if you need an absolute version, all you have to do is specify that absolute version. And now if you are going to give npm install, what happens is the absolute version gets installed. Okay, so it is exactly 4.17.10. so if I'm going to give a command called npm update, nothing is going to change. The reason is because we have given absolute version. Instead of that, we already know that the current version is .11. So if you're going to give tilde symbol here, and if you're going to run the same command again, watch closely as this turns out to be version 11. Yeah. So the reason behind that is you are using either tilde or caret symbol so that minor updates and patch updates keep on going. But if you actually need major updates as well, all you have to do is give star here. So it should update anything, whatever it may be, like major update, beta version, anything will get updated here. So usually this is not recommended and it may break your application because major changes might not have backward compatibility. So I think you should stick to this version control system, like using caret. So that is mostly preferred. Likewise, there is also something called a dev dependency. Say for instance we'll use gulp, which is usually found in development for JavaScript functions. In order to do that, what you have to do is npm install dash dash save dash dev gulp. So once you give that, instead of getting installed in directly in the dependencies, a new key value pair is created with naming as dev dependencies, and gulp gets listed under dev dependencies. So what is the use of it actually is, you don't want actually the dev dependencies to be installed in your production environment, thereby which might consume more space. And nowadays we have Google clusters and micromanagement service, so you don't want to mm, overuse the resource. So it is better to have dev dependencies separate and dependencies separate. um, in order to see this work in live, currently we have both the dependencies, both gulp and lodash is installed. So in order to check that, what you could do is there is a command called npm ls. So if you're going to put that okay, so something is missing, but actually once you give ls, you should be seeing all these dependencies getting installed. uh, Actually you installed just two dependencies, lodash and gulp. So how come you have all these dependencies? The reason behind that is every dependency might have a subordinate dependency. So we'll take a look into something like lodash. um, yeah, here it is. So what should be there is we should find another package.json file. Yeah, here it is. So this is how ideal package.json file might look. Some of the things you might have seen. We had author, so we just had name, and there are other stuff like email, URL, bugs, contributors. Like of course there could be multiple contributors for a single project. We have the license, MIT, keywords, homepage, description, all those same package stuff. Actually, there are no dependencies for Lodash, but I think the other things might come from Gulp. So once you see Gulp, what happens is it has a number of dependencies which gets installed along while we did npm install. So take in order to take a look into the actual top level dependency, what you could do is npm ls, and you could specify the depth. For instance, we want the lowest level, so I'll use 0. Now we should be seeing Lodash. Okay, since 0 is very low, we'll start with 1. Now we should be seeing Lodash and okay, I think I might have missed something. npm ls, oh sorry, I missed the dash. Okay, now I'll specify it as 0. Okay, so this is the expected response. You will be seeing gulp and lodash to be the important dependencies, and just ignore this error because my internet is actually slow. So I think all these things didn't get installed properly. So if I'm going to give npm install, this error should go away. Yeah, as you could see, there are a few more dependencies which didn't get installed in the first go. Now once you give npm ls step 0, I think we still have dependency missing. Okay, so the point is the first level dependencies are gulp and lodash. So say for instance you're going to give it as depth 1. What happens is the immediate peer dependencies will show up in here. Like gulp has immediate dependencies, and we could see that lodash has no immediate dependencies. So likewise you could go for depth 2, 3, and you could just check out which are the requirements in your actual package. I guess that's more about dependencies. So what if you need to, and we were speaking about production, right? So I'll just remove this node modules. Okay, so it got removed. In order to install just the production dependencies and to completely ignore this dev dependency, all you have to do is npm install dash production. Yeah, this should get rid of the gulp, and you will be only having the lodash. So now if you are going to give npm ls depth 0, you should be finding just the lodash. Yeah, so this is the expected response. The reason is the dev dependencies get excluded when there is production flag. Yeah, this might be useful when you work in production environment. The next thing is there might be times where you might be in need to remove the dependencies that you just added. So in order to do that, npm remove, or simply you could use rm, or even you could use uninstall, and the dependency name, which is gulp, and specify the type of dependency. Since it is in dev, I'm using dash dash save dash dev. So once you do this, it will be completely removed from your dev dependency, and even from the node modules folder if it is installed. You can also remove the dependencies using dash dash save. So I think that's more about npm, I guess. In next video we will be seeing about version control system along with npm, so that how things are working when it comes to git, and how are couple of people working in a project handling code and its dependencies. How exactly is project workflow happening in industry? So this is what we are going to see. Well, see you then.